Good morning, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite MLB home run predictions for today. We are talking Thursday, July 3rd. The Dong Report is back in your life, and I'm only going to have four you guys to lock in for today's Dong Report. Normally, I had been spraying the board, taking between like 6 to 10 guys, but today, the Dong slate just really didn't speak to me, so instead of trying to force some guys, I'm just going with four that I really like all four. And as long as we get one of them to hit a home run, we will make money today. That's how it's going to work for today. So putting a quarter unit on all four of them. Of course, before we get into all that, let's do a recap from yesterday, which was not great. We didn't make money, but it also wasn't terrible. Thank you to Corey Seager for coming through with a late night home run, giving ourselves salvaging the day a little bit, I should say, down 0.29 units yesterday. Obviously, we're never hoping to have a day in the red, but at least Corey Seager did come through to minimize the losses a little bit. The early games, the four in the beginning, really were frustrating. I really liked all four of those, especially these two guys on the Rays. None of them came through with a home run. Adell hit the crap out of the baseball, couldn't come through with a home run, and then Tucker really didn't do anything, so nothing really to complain about there. On the entire season, we are down 2.86 units. Now, this does include the loss from Roman Anthony. I updated that one to also be a loss, so just want to be clear that these results are 100% accurate. Down 2.86 units on the year, down 3.12% ROI as well. So that is my results if you are following my unit size guiding. If you're just putting one unit on every single guy and not worrying about unit sizing and anything like that, you're up about 16 units because just the way the odds shook out. And this hot streak started when I started spraying the board, so it's going to mess with the numbers a little bit as well. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how things are going over the last 2 weeks. Hopefully that can continue today. Would appreciate it, those of you watching, if you could like the video, comment, and subscribe. Now we'll get to the weather portion of today's show. There's really only one game to me that I wanted to avoid, and that's this game at Wrigley Field. When there's wind blowing in at Wrigley, even though it's only slight wind, it's only like 6 miles an hour. I really don't want to mess with winds blowing in at Wrigley, especially the temperature is, it's warm, but it's not in the 90s like it had been. The best game of the day, unsurprisingly, is this game at Coors Field. I actually don't have a play in Coors. I'll give you two leans that I looked at, but it felt like if I went with those guys, I was forcing it just for the sake of having a play on Coors. And I've made that mistake recently of trying to force in picks in good weather situations. So I'm trying to kind of be a little bit better about that, which is why I ended up staying away from Coors. But like I said, I'll give you guys some leans on that. Nats Park, good. Braves Park, good. Dodger Stadium, good. And that's kind of how the home run slate works out for today. And let's get into it. So the first two plays are both in the Tigers game. I'm going with Spencer Torkelson and I'm going with Riley Green. I am taking both of them to hit a home run. Getting pretty good odds on both those guys, specifically at ESPN Bet. If you look at the pricing here, ESPN Bet has plus 375 on Riley Green and plus 450 for Torkelson. And if you line shop that, you're getting a really good price on ESPN Bet. Now, for those of you that can't use ESPN Bet for whatever reason, I would still take it at the next best offer price, which is $390 for Torque and $320 for Riley Green. Obviously, I would just much rather get the best odds. And those of you that are in a state where you can use this, the exchanges are phenomenal for situations like this where you can just request whatever odds you want. So that's what I ended up doing, trying to get 375 and 450 on the exchanges. But I really like both these guys on the Tigers. The reason, the pitching matchup against Jake Irvin is very, very good. Jake Irvin has been a dong machine the entire year. He's a barrel rate machine the entire year as well. He's slightly worse against lefties, which is a point in favor of Riley Green, but he's still bad against righties. So it's not like he should be totally avoided from somebody like Spencer Torkelson. And you look at him over his last 5 starts, and it really doesn't get any better. Home run, I should say, and another way of phrasing that is it gets significantly worse. In his last 5 starts, he goes from allowing a home run every 21 or so at-bats to every 14 and a half or so at-bats. That's disgusting. All these numbers across the board are horrifically bad. Barrel rate, hard hit rate, fly ball plus line drive rate above 50% is really bad. Against righties, he's actually been worse over the last 5 starts than he has against lefties. Granted, I think it's a little bit just luck that lefties haven't been tattooing him, because you look at all these numbers, they're all worse against lefties than they are against righties. So the pitching matchup for both of these guys is phenomenal. And you look, so these two teams played a doubleheader yesterday. Riley Green hit 2 home runs in the first game of the doubleheader. I know that's probably going to scare some people off. He just had such a good day at the plate. I mean, he had 3 hard hits. Torkelson had 4. And you look at the exit velo on these, 110, traveled 411 feet. This is for Riley Green. 104.8, traveled 380 feet. 102.8. And then he had one that was less impressive. He had 3. And then Torque, home run, 107.1 miles an hour off the bat. He had a flyout that traveled 405 feet. So so he had a flyout that actually traveled farther than his home run just because of where it was hit. But 102.8 miles an hour off the bat. And then he had 99.5 and he had 101.3. That's game 1. The second game of the doubleheader, Riley Green, they gave him the start off. He came in and pinch hit. And what he did when he pinch hit was he hit a baseball 388 feet. So even in his day off, he came in and started and hit really well. And then you look at Torque, he had a double, 108.3 miles an hour off the bat, traveled 396 feet. So this is all going to say that, they're all to show you that these guys hit the crap out of the baseball yesterday. They have a phenomenal matchup to continue hitting the baseball today against Jake Irvin. And it's really good from a pitch mix perspective as well. You look at, we'll stick with Riley Green for a second. He's been awesome over the last month. I mean, he's always been a really high barrel rate guy, which is what he's been doing over the last month. Obviously, he hit 2 home runs yesterday and a couple other bombs. But the curveball is the biggest issue for Jake Irvin, at least in his last 5 starts. If you want to look at the entire year, it's still going to be the curveball against lefties, but the fastball also gets tattooed a little bit as well. But we'll stick with the curveball. Riley Green over the last month, he hasn't seen a ton, but the ones that he has seen, he has really good numbers against. We'll go back to the last 3 months, basically April until now. He does strike out a decent amount, but really, really good numbers against the curveball. The 4-seam fastball, he's had good numbers against all year. Not as good as some of these other guys. That's over the last 2 months. You look at the last month, and Riley Green, not as good numbers against the fastball as I was expecting, but luckily the biggest home run issue for Jake Irvin is the curveball. And then the changeup, I think Riley Green also has good numbers against, mostly from a barrel rate perspective. And those over the last the last 5 starts, the 2 biggest issue pitches are the curveball and the changeup. So that's Riley Green. Good pitch mix from the 2 most important pitches if we're looking at the last 5 weeks. Then you look at righties. The sinker, which he throws the most, doesn't get hit up at all. The curveball, the fastball, the slider. And you look at Torque against the curveball. We need a little bit of a bigger sample size, so we'll just look at the entire season as opposed to the last month. He doesn't have great barrel rate numbers, hard hit numbers, but like he's seen 5 curveballs from a righty, so it's hard to really know what to expect. The 4-seam fastball, he has good numbers against, really good numbers against the 4-seamer, and that does get hit up by righties, unlike lefties who haven't hit a home run off of his 4-seamer in the last 5 starts. That is one of the biggest issue pitches is the 4-seam fastball, and Torque has really good numbers against that. Even if you look at the last month, really good numbers for Torque against the 4-seam fastball. And then the other pitch was the slider, which gets tattooed. And I mean, he hasn't seen a ton of sliders. You want to look at the entire year against the slider, and it's okay. He strikes out a lot, but he does hit the ball hard when he does make contact. And that could also be a bullpen game for these guys to hit home runs off of as well. So I really like the first 2 in Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green. Next up, I'm going right back to Jo Adell. I know those of you are probably sick of me taking him, but he's just got such a good matchup today against Bryce Elder, which we're going to talk about. And he had been among the hottest hitters in baseball. He did not hit a home run yesterday, but he hit the ball really, really well. He had one that traveled 393 feet. That was not a home run. But you look at the overall box score, he had 3 hard hits. And you look at the EV logs on 2 of those, 106.6 miles an hour off the bat. And then the line out that honestly should have been a home run, 102.5 miles per hour off the bat. And then his third one was not as impressive, only 97.6, and it was a ground out. So nothing really to be that excited about there, but it's those first 2 that's really good. Now, I will admit, the Braves Stadium has a large left field, so you do have to hit the ball farther at the left field than for that to be a home run. So that is one issue with a right-handed hitter, but it at least is good weather in Atlanta today. 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out and temperature in the mid to high 80s, so that's going to help with carry. And Adell's been among the hottest hitters in baseball I mean, you look at him over the last 2 weeks, and these numbers don't include yesterday because FanGraphs hasn't updated for yesterday yet because I got to get this video out early. But 6 barrels over the last 14 days, not including yesterday. 17 hard hits over the last 14 days, again, not including yesterday. Really, really, really good numbers for Joe Adell. And then the biggest thing here is this pitching matchup. You look at Bryce Elder, who's pitching for the Braves. The guy is an absolute dong machine. On the year, he's been bad. Over his last 5 starts, he's allowed a home run every 17.3 at-bats. That's really bad. Last week, his last start against the Phillies, he allowed 3 home runs in 2 innings pitched. Now, he wasn't horrible prior to that start, but still, 5 innings allowed a home run to the. I also look at these, look at the teams that they're playing, the sample size here, and the quality of competition. 1 home run allowed in 5 innings to the Marlins isn't terrible. 1 home run allowed in 3 innings to the Rockies isn't terrible, but he got annihilated in both of those games. 10 hits allowed, 7 hits allowed. And then the start before that, 1 home run and 8 innings pitched. Actually had a good game. That was the best game he's probably pitched all year against the Giants. But on the year, he's been bad. Recently, he's been bad. You look at him this entire season. Home run every 19.21 at-bats against righties. It's every 17 against lefties. It's every 23. So he's slightly worse against righties, but really he can be had by either. And I mean, I already mentioned how hot Joe Adell is at the plate. He's hit. This is on, over the last month, 6 home runs against righties. The pitch mix, the sinker, Joe Adell doesn't have amazing numbers against the sinker over the last month. So that one isn't amazing from a pitch mix perspective, but the slider, which is where probably be the biggest issue for Bryce Elder because he throws the sinker over 50% of the time. The slider 40% of the time, but 4 of the home runs have come off the slider. So more home runs and fewer pitches. And Joe Adell, really good numbers against the slider. That's over the last month. You look over the last 2 months, even better numbers against the slider for him. And then the changeup, which he's only going to see 5% of the time and has accounted for 2 of the home runs. He's seen 1 changeup over the last 2 months from a righty. So really nothing to see there. But the pitches from Bryce Elder are not very good. And that's really all it comes down to. Not much else to say. This one, I know that it's frustrating when you take a guy a couple days in a row when he doesn't hit. But when you're hitting the ball 390 feet and you're hitting the ball twice above 100 miles an hour, those are pretty impressive numbers. And again, he's just got an excellent, excellent matchup against Bryce Elder, which we just talked about. So that is play number 3. And then my 4th and final pick of the video is Willy Adames. We are taking him to hit a home run. Adell, I forgot to give you the price. He's at plus 480 on FanDuel, so it's a pretty good price. I mean, he was just $375 yesterday, something like that, $380 yesterday. So I do like the price on Adell. And then Adames is a really good price at $575 at Bet365 and $550 at ESPN Bet. So I do like the price on Adames a lot. I'm not going to say he's red hot at the plate, not quite like Joe Adell or anything like that, but he's hitting the ball decently well. You look at barrels over the last 14 days, he's got 4. That's respectable. He's got 15 hard hits. That's respectable. You look over the last 7 days, 3 barrels, which is really good. So 3 of the 4 barrels have happened over the last week, and he's got 8 hard hits, which is respectable. Not amazing, but respectable. The biggest thing for him, and the reason why I like going with him, is the pitching matchup against Brandon Pfaadt is electric. Pfaadt has been getting tattooed all year from the home run department. He had a good start last time out against the Marlins, but prior to that, home run in 5 innings, home run in 5 innings, 2 home runs in 5 innings, no home runs, but only made it 3 innings, and he got annihilated in this game. He just didn't allow a home run. On the year, home run every 21 at-bats, every 20 or so. To righties, you look at his last 5 starts, and he's been a little bit better, admittedly, but not really from like a barrel rate perspective. You look at these numbers across the board, 11% barrel rate, 53.85% hard hit rate. Like that is not good. The 2 issues, or the 2 home runs that he has given up to a righty over the last 5 weeks has been to his 4-seam fastball. And Willy Adames, he's not having an amazing year for the Giants. I mean, nobody is. Nobody can hit on the Giants. But you look at him over the last month, his numbers are decent, which we already talked about. And then the 4-seam fastball, his numbers are pretty good. 52% hard hit rate, 26% fly ball rate. They're not amazing, but they are pretty good. And you look at the last 2 months for him against the 4-seam fastball, and it's a little bit better. 13% barrel rate. The hard hit rate went down, but the barrel rate went up. So there's kind of hit or miss in both of those situations. But the biggest thing here is the pitching matchup against Brandon Pfaadt, who's an absolute dong machine. Ballpark Pal really likes this one. They like all three of the plays that I have today, but this one they like the most from a value perspective. They have him at 471 as the true line. We got it at 575 or 550, 10 out of 10 pitching matchup. Or I should say 10 out of 10 advantage in favor of the batter when looking at the pitching matchup. A+ for Willy Adames. And that's all we got. So it's only 4 guys today to hit a home run, putting a quarter unit on each of these 4. If we get one of them to hit a home run, we're making money, even if it's Riley Green, who's got the shortest odds. If we get 2 of them to hit a home run, we will be very nicely in the green. And if we get 3 or more, we will give ourselves profit on the year. I'm pretty sure that's how the math checks out. If we get 3 guys to hit a home run today, we get ourselves in the green on the year. That would be electric. But that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure to bet responsibly, and have a good one.